The announcement by Planned Parenthood that it is going to cease all operations in Louisiana on September 30th. They're going to be closing their clinics in Baton Rouge as well as New Orleans. So great news. But there is a sobering aspect to all of this that we need to keep in mind. While the great news is that Planned Parenthood is closing in Louisiana, the truth is that abortions nationwide, including in Louisiana, continue to be on the rise. This has been taking place ever since the Supreme Court's decision, Roe v. Wade. And what has been fueling the rise in abortions is the abortion drug, which, quite frankly, the previous administration under Joe Biden, they paved the way for all of this. But as we frequently have noted, the Trump administration can turn all this around. So here now to continue this conversation is Mary Szoch. She's the director of the Center for Human Dignity here at the Family Research Council. Mary, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to have you.
It's an honor to be here, Jody.
Okay, so for those who may be unaware, remind us about how the Biden administration did, as I just referenced, they literally flooded the market, so to speak, by removing so many of the necessary safeguards around this dangerous abortion drug.
They did. They used the COVID pandemic as an excuse to remove the in-person dispensing requirement for mifepristone. They said requiring a woman to meet with a healthcare professional in person increased her risk of obtaining COVID, and therefore that requirement had to be removed for the entire pandemic. But following that, they removed the actual REM. So there is no longer an in-person dispensing requirement for this drug. And after they did that, the Biden administration's Department of Justice issued an opinion that the Comstock Act, which clearly states that an abortion-inducing drug cannot be sent through the mail. They issued an opinion that said that they would enforce that as narrowly as possible, meaning basically not at all.
Wow. So we have this great news coming out of Louisiana, and I don't want to minimize that at all. What the closing of Planned Parenthood is huge, and we are celebrating that. And also, by the way, there was a couple of other pro-life laws that went into effect in Louisiana, one that allows citizens of that state to literally sue out-of-state doctors who are sending abortion drugs into the state. And so we have, Mary, pro-life states like Louisiana, unquestionably, they're doing their part in this continuing fight for life and against abortion drugs and so forth. But we've also discussed on this program a number of times that we've got blue states that are now using shield laws to protect abortionists. How do we deal with this, and how can the Trump administration stop the flow of these abortion drugs that are being prescribed by pro-abortion doctors in blue states and then being sent in to pro-life states?
Well, this is something that we will likely see at some point reach its way to the Supreme Court. There's a man in Texas who has filed a lawsuit against California, a California doctor, for mailing the abortion drug mifepristone to his girlfriend in Texas. We've seen cases in Louisiana where the abortion drug has been sent by an abortionist from New York to Louisiana, resulting in a woman needing to go to the emergency room. And that same abortionist sent that drug to a woman in Texas, and it again resulted in that woman needing emergency care. This drug is dangerous, and it can't be sent through the mail. The Trump administration the Department of Justice needs to re-examine the opinion that the Biden administration issued on Comstock. The Trump administration has a wonderful reputation of being in favor of the rule of law. This is a law that is clearly stated, it is on the books, and it should be enforced. We can't be dealing with a situation where the governor of New York says, we'll do everything possible to ensure that abortionists here can send abortion drugs to states like Louisiana and Texas. This is not something that can continue to happen.
Well, and let me just say, we've been asking over and over and over for our viewers and listeners to join us in this effort. And again, I want to thank you for all that you do to keep us informed on what's going on with this issue and many others. But friends, you want to be a part of us encouraging the Trump administration to stand for life and try to stop these drugs. Simply text the word life to 67742. Life to 67742, and you can join our efforts in what Mary is talking about right now. Mary, there's some other life-related news. I'm sure you're following this, but earlier this week, the Trump administration frankly made some pretty significant waves regarding his administration's IVF policy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Certainly, there was a leak from the Trump administration that said that the Trump administration will not be mandating that insurers cover IVF. And this is great news because it tells us what most of us have known for a very long time, and that is that President Trump actually cares about the Constitution. To mandate that insurers cover IVF would be a violation of the freedom of religion of both businesses and of insurers who have an issue with the IVF process or with IVF completely. And so it's a really big step to see that the Trump administration will not be requiring insurers to have mandated coverage of IVF.
Yeah, that's big. So remind us overall, Mary, that some of the ethical concerns, moral concerns regarding IVF. Why is this a big deal?
Well, there's a number that, as pro-lifers, that we think of immediately. The number of embryos that are frozen, the pre-implantation genetic testing that is eugenic and results in the destruction of life. The number of embryos that are discarded because they're not used. The intentional separation of parents from their children through what is called embryo donation. Those are some of the issues that people frequently think of when they're pro-life and approaching the IVF issue. But one that goes often unthought of is the issue of the fact that this does not actually address the issue of infertility, and that IVF is actually subpar care for a woman or a couple that is struggling with infertility. There are better methods out there that actually address the root cause and get to the issue behind why that couple hasn't been able to achieve pregnancy or hasn't been able to carry a child to term.
I think this is a huge area where we need a lot more education. I think there's a lot of confusion out there, even within the pro-life community, about IVF. And many look at this saying, oh, it's a pro-life, trying to have a baby. But there are major issues like what you just brought up that need to be discussed. And education needs to be brought forth of so many deep underlying issues that need to be resolved. So, Mary, again, I want to thank you so much for the incredible work you do at FRC and beyond on life issues and so many different things. Thank you for joining us today on Washington Watch.
It's an honor to be here.